Hello, and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tom. I'm Greg. So, Community Care Licensing put out a pin just this last week. It was actually a week ago Monday, regarding the End of Life Option Act. This is where individuals who qualify with two doctors can obtain aid in dying drugs, and when the time feels right for them, they can take those medications and end their own life. This is something that's been around in the state of California for a number of years, but we've had very little guidance from Community Care Licensing with how we should be dealing with this in our care facilities. So I've got a few bullet points from that pin that I just want to share with you, and it will open up many more questions for you. And I realize this is not an easy thing to deal with in our facilities. And I've already spoken with some licensees who have actually had some challenges with this. And we can talk more about that in the future. So the first point that is made in this new PIN is that participation by care providers is optional. A licensee, a facility, they can opt out based on their personal beliefs, which includes even centrally storing the medications as we're used to, and also having a policy that would prevent staff from even participating in the act when it comes. The next point would be resident rights. Residents have a right if they have qualified to obtain the aid in dying drugs, and a licensee cannot evict a resident for electing to enact the End of Life Option Act. Another point is regarding medication storage. There are two options for storing the aid in dying drug, and it can either be centrally stored. If you, as a licensee, if you choose to do that, you can centrally store the medication if that is what your resident wants. But the resident cannot be required to centrally store the medication. According to the PIN, the resident has the right to keep that aid in dying drug in their living space as long as they keep it in a locked container like a safe or a locked box or a locked cabinet. And then the final point I want to make on this is resident disclosure. And this one is pretty tricky because it can cause you some pain depending on when this resident has moved into your facility. A resident doesn't have the requirement to disclose their choice to utilize the End of Life Option Act to you, the licensee. They can do it at any time and they don't have to tell you at all. The only people involved in this decision is the resident and their medical professionals, their doctors. So this can be problematic because, as one licensee I spoke to shared with me, they recently moved somebody in to their assisted living, and 3 weeks later, they took the aid in dying drugs. Not only did that licensee pay a referral agent for that resident, they also had to refund the rest of the rent that had already been paid because it was a death. Now, this raises a lot of questions. I know there's going to be comments, but ideally we want to respect somebody's choice to end their own life if they're doing it with the assistance of their medical professionals. We all have different ideas about how death should occur. Only natural death should occur. I know a lot of us are even a little bit hesitant when it comes to hospice. But the fact is, the law supports the resident's right to make these choices. And if we're going to be in this business, we're going to have to get used to respecting that too. Please share with us your experience with this. If you've had a resident who has opted to do this or has done this in the past, I'd like to know how it went for you. Was it a good experience overall? Did you have challenges? What are your thoughts on this? Are you concerned about some other things that could come up? Let's have a discussion about it. Until next time, again, I'm Greg with Tuesdays with Tom. Stay in touch.